Greetings everybody. Today we're working on autofill and hinting. Here is a menu, select food, where I need to select an item of food for logging my nutrition. As you can see, it's rather long and difficult to find things, so a perfect candidate to have a text input where I hint, and it'll help me show a list of things as I type, so I don't have to hunt down where it is on that list. We're using React, and we're going to be actually kind of copying something that we've already mapped, which is the select menu, because it's the same menu. So we just need to get that map, and we need to create the element, the HTML element that we'll be utilizing, and place it in a spot. So here I am kind of wandering around on the page trying to figure out where exactly it's going to fit. And I need to go ahead and let React know what's going on here with the class name, and it's going to be a form group. A form group is basically when you have multiple input pieces for a form collected into one group, and makes it nice and tidy so they're kind of grouped together. It looks like Visual Studio has written a constructor and parameters, so I'm going to delete that. But as you can see, I've typed in an input, text input, and we're going to go ahead and go to Bootstrap 5, and I'm going to show you where to acquire a component for your lists. And they have them all prepared for you. We want to have one that's like an anchor tag here. So we'll be using this one, which is a little bit different, but still looks the same. So we're going to go ahead and put this element here. It's going to be underneath the hint input, which is the name I gave the text input field. And we'll be firing off a function on key up. And then so it basically every time we type something, it's going to check every time that we have a key up. And I'm just going to make up some kind of name for a function for now. And then as you can see, I'm running that map of the options right now. So let's go ahead and create that function. And it won't really do anything right now. But we're gonna be using React hooks. And I want to use a hook named hint and a function named setHint. And we'll start it off with an empty array string. Okay, and so this is what instead of the options for the select menu, we're using this for the list item. And as you can see, it comes with a few classes already that will be useful for the Bootstrap framework. Now, there's a few things here that when we're saving, we actually save directly from the food name text input value. That won't work anymore. We need to kind of rearrange things a little bit so that we can decipher which one they're trying to tell us they'd like to utilize. So when it's selected, when it says add nutrition, we want to make sure that we have populated the text input with the name, food name. And if it's a default, then we don't want to use it. We would use the hint one. But they all fill out the same, so it's kind of irrelevant. They just want to make sure that it knows what the value is. And we don't want it to use default. And then from here, we do a little bit of fixing up of some of the CSS elements or the HTML elements. And then once this is selected, once one of these items is selected on the list grouped item, we will basically fire off which one they're looking for within the list. I'm going to do a little curating and fixing up of how this works here in a second. Now, I want to make sure that this is only written if the characters that we have in our hint list are represented in the name item. So as you can see, it's only going to say if index of hint is in item, which would mean it's not -1, we shall print this. So I'm going to do a little positioning. That element is going to need to be in a position called absolute, so that at that point I can give it the z index and it'll float above the rest of these page. As you can see here, it's above it now. However, it doesn't seem to be working very well and the background's not correct, so I'm just going to do a little bit of fixing up. And the CSS background obviously is an easy kind of low-hanging fruit here. And I use pound F8 quite a bit. It is kind of an off-white, but it's nice to use. Okay. So we'll go ahead and set the default to an empty character, just a blank string, and we'll let it know that we're not going to even show this thing at all unless there's something in that string, and as long as it has the list available to it. And let's go ahead and tell it, hinting what all we need for it to do once it's set. I use these things called a try catch. In case something goes wrong, we don't break our application, it just moves past this error. It's a really good way to save yourself a lot of headaches and blank screens with errors, is saying, there's a chance that this might not have a value. And if that's the case, I do not want this software to break. And so there, I will go ahead and give it an out, which is, I'm going to pass down this error, which is saying we don't know what you're talking about when you refer to this. Now, granted, if it is there, then we move on and there's no problems. But otherwise, you can see I've left another option for it. And let's go ahead and see how this is working now. And as you can see, I'm not getting a result just yet. So a little more cleaning of some of my JavaScript. Now I'm going to do another try catch so that I don't create an error. You can do these quite a bit. I recommend you using them anytime you feel like you should. Let's test this again. And as you can see, I've got my log down here and it's telling me what's going on as I type. It knows that there's the hint working. And let's write in the key for React. And let's see if this one is receiving any information, and let's ask it what else we'll be doing. And let's see if we can get a little more read on it. There, as you can see, it is going through and it is working. Okay, so we're getting closer. One problem here, when you do a search, everything needs to be kind of compared in a lowercase, because I've already had these in uppercase and I wasn't typing in uppercase. So whenever you want to compare something, be sure that whatever you're comparing, they're both in lowercase. Otherwise, they won't match. And you want to make sure that the case is not the problem when they're not matching. So let's go ahead and set a couple more things that I need to work in our favor once the hinting is correct. We want to make sure the value of certain items are filled out. And once they're selected, we want to kind of tailor this so that I'm going to create a function called setTheHint, and it's going to bring in with it the hooks that we were already using. And so sometimes I'll do that. I'll have a hook and it's like, I need more with this. And so I'll make a function and then I'll put that hook inside this function I've created, because I have so many other things I need to do. I can't just get away with just doing a hook. So as you can see here, when I set the hint past the word item, I set hint as item, and I populate hint input field and food name input field. And then I'll hide that hint list because we don't need it anymore. We've populated the field, it was clicked. We don't need it, so we don't need it in the way. And let's do a placeholder so you know what this thing is. It's just a search, but it's just you need to let your users know what this is for. So placeholders are always important. Search list. As you can see, I'm working here. I got an error. Let's try the try catch again. As you can see, this is going to be our savior. If it doesn't work or something's wrong with it, it just moves on. It says, I don't know what this is, but I'm not going to break your app and trying to figure this out. And then we tell it to return something else. Okay, and that's not correct, so we'll go ahead and fix it. It's passing the literal, and we'll go ahead and easily fix this. The hint only needs to be passing item. And we're also going to want to grab the iteration number and pass that along when we set the hint. And that iteration number is going to tell us, because food name is not an input value, it's a select menu. And so we want to do it as the iteration number. That's going to tell us what populated on that select menu. So you can see here, it's 1 off because the iteration number 1 says it's in it would say select 1. So therefore we need to do a +1 so it actually goes to the right food menu on the menu item. There we go. I hope you learned something here.